Guys, I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and today I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this interesting thing going on with Jasmine Crockett and Stephen A. Smith. I've seen people I've seen people going really hard at Stephen A. Really trying to cancel him over his comments about Jasmine Crockett, and I kind of hope we can have a decent conversation about this. I know that it's hard because when people get emotional, you really can't talk about certain things, right? Because the reaction to facts is typically going to just be anger, right? You're just going to have people get mad and start cussing each other out and all this other stuff. But I really want to talk about this because I'm really concerned about what I'm seeing. And again, I'm a person that sort of looks for substance in what you're saying. I don't really care how you said it. I don't care how much your neck was swinging or how much cussing you did. I really want to know what you were really saying. I want to know what you're saying and how it really benefits other people outside of yourself, how it goes beyond your own ego. And so, apparently, in case you don't know, Stephen A. Smith has really got the business for speaking the name of Jasmine Crockett. And when I heard about this, Jasmine Crockett is a representative out of Texas. She's known for being a pretty big foe of Donald Trump, and it's really interesting. Not so much what Stephen said or what Jasmine said; it's what people said about what Stephen said. Right? It's about what people said about what Jasmine said. And I've seen some people that I know talking about this. My very good friend Willie D had a lot to say about it. DL Hughley, who got on the phone and cussed me out and wanted to fight me and everything else over politics, which I didn't say a word. I did not say one single word in response. I thought it was the weirdest conversation I ever had. And a few other people. And I want to play this. And the reason I want to play some of what Stephen A. said, I'm looking for some of Jasmine's responses because I think all this should be heard. I really do. But I want to play this because I really want you to understand that this is what I call plantation politics. This is where you get black people fighting each other, disavowing each other, trying to damn near murder each other over these politicians who don't give a shit about any of us, right? I've never ever felt the Democratic Party gave a damn about black people. I still don't, and I got evidence for that. I know some people don't like facts, but I brought some facts, and I'm just going to kind of play this for you so you can hear what Stephen A. said and then kind of form your own opinion. And let's just have that conversation. So give me a second. I'm gonna share my audio here and I'm gonna play this video. So here's some of what Stephen A had to say, and I want you all to make your comments in the chat. Here we go.
Essence, not just as a representative, but speaking out on a plethora of issues involving the current administration and the White House, et cetera, et cetera. And I made some noise last week because I had the temerity, the unmitigated gall, to say this about Representative Crockett when talking about the state of our politics in the midst of a government shutdown, by the way, that has unfolded since October 1st. Take a listen to what I had to say last week, please. You Jasmine Crockett or somebody like that. Ladies, I respect. Intelligent women, no doubt. But how Jasmine Crockett chooses to express herself, I'm like, is that going to help your district in Texas? Aren't you there to find a way to get stuff done as opposed to just being an impediment to what Trump wants? How much work goes into that? I'm just going to go off about Trump, cuss him out every chance I get, say the most derogatory, incendiary things imaginable, and that's my day's work. That ain't work. Work is saying that's the man in power. I know what his agenda is. I'm not exactly in a position to stop him since the Republicans have the Senate and the House. But maybe if I'm willing to work with this man, I might get something out of it for my constituency. Because like Joe Manchin said, he's there to represent, or was there for 15 years to represent, the people of West Virginia. She's supposed to be there to represent the people of Texas. I don't know, maybe that just sounds ignorant because it's so simple. But it ain't that damn complicated. We make it complicated. Damn, it's frustrating. It really can be. And all the verbiage and all the nonsense that I've heard over the last few days is why it can get exhausting. Because nothing frustrates me more than when people have the truth at their disposal and they choose, maybe not lie, maybe not even embellish, but allow their emotions to usurp facts and all of a sudden want to use that as an excuse to label.
Now, before I move on, can y'all give me a yes in the chat if you can hear? It's okay. I want to make sure everybody can hear it okay. Make sure you can hear the video that I'm playing. Did you catch that? Let me know if you heard what Stephen A was saying. Give me a yes in the chat if you were able to hear it. All right. Okay. So what I want to do is I wanted to talk about this mainly because this is something that bothers me a lot. And it's really hard to talk about politics in America without pissing somebody off. I piss off a lot of people. Like I said, when D.L. Hughley got on the phone with me, the man talked like he wanted to fight me, kill me, whatever. It was real weird. I was worried about him, his mental health. I said, man, if you're gonna fight me over something that means something. Don't fight me over this stupid Democrat Republican bullshit. Um, and here's where I'm going with this. So I heard what Stephen A. had to say. And I don't expect everybody to agree with Stephen A. I don't always agree with Stephen A. I've criticized him on many occasions, 100%. At the same time, I listened carefully to what he had to say. And I think that we have a problem sometimes in our community with substance over flash. I listened to what Stephen A. said, and then I saw the responses. I saw, my good friend Willie. I respect Willie. Willie was in my wedding. We are very good friends. So it's very hard. I want to be real careful when I describe my position on this because I am not out here trying to be nasty to nobody. Um, I listened to the comedian Godfrey. Comedian Godfrey. It seemed like he got upset about it as well. I saw a rapper replies. You a mother ucker, you cool nigga that just stuff like that, right? And uh, and then I saw the comments, and I saw a lot of comments saying, "That's right, protect black women," and I hear that, right? So I think that what ends up happening here, that ends up causing people to get really upset, is that black people are very emotional about politics. We're very emotional about our defense of the Democratic Party. We really, really, really defend the Democrats. And if you listen carefully, if you are a person who thinks and listens and says, okay, so what exactly are you saying? If you'll notice, most of the statements are built more on emotion than they're built on actual solutions. And the reason I felt the need to bring this up is because if you were to ask me, I would make the argument that a lot of the reason that the black community is way behind in a lot of categories is because when you listen to a political leader, you're not likely going to get a logical, informed solution that is truly pro-black, truly committed to improving conditions for black people. You'll usually get some type of entertainment. It comes from the pastor. The pastor, no, like you ever seen a pastor like jump up and down and yell and scream and play the music, but ain't really saying nothing, right? And the theater is what people come for. They don't actually come for actual information, a strategy, etc. And so, if I was to read some of the statistics about the state of the black community, and this is a lot of this is in districts that are run by the Democratic Party. If you want to know why I don't give a shit about Democrats or Republicans, it's because all of them have been in leadership positions in black areas, and none of them have ever really gotten anything done for black people, black politicians included. So here's some stats, just so you can, for those who like facts. Um, Median white wealth is 285,000 versus 44,900 for black people. So there's a big racial wealth gap. There's a massive home ownership gap between blacks and whites. 73% of whites own their homes, 45.9% of black people own their home. 64%, two-thirds, more than two-thirds of black children grow up in a single parent household. What people have said that people don't want to hear is that family structure plays a massive role in wealth. They said that when a black family is stable, your wealth goes up quite a lot. Did y'all know that? How many of y'all knew this? That black families with a mother, father that are married, that are together, have higher wealth levels than families where it's just one person doing all the work. That makes sense, right? That's like saying that I can lift twice as much when there's two of me as opposed to just one of me, right? But these facts rarely get mentioned when you go to some of these events, particularly those hosted by the liberals. This is my frustration point with the liberals. I don't really spend a lot of energy being frustrated with liberals or conservatives. I only get frustrated with liberals because they waste your energy. They waste your energy rather than putting your energy into fixing your community's problems. You spend your energy jumping up and down and screaming and hollering about how much you hate the Republicans. And that works to their benefit for sure because they can get elected off that. Black energy is a huge commodity. It's a multi-billion-dollar asset. And other people have a vested interest in controlling that energy to make sure that they stay in power. but they don't use that energy to put your black ass in any significant amount of power. Just go to the south side of Chicago, where a lot of black people on the south side of Chicago feel that the Democratic Party mayor, the black mayor, sold them out. They feel that he put the immigrants ahead of them. They feel that they lost resources after getting him into office. And this is something that happens all across the country. And this is a rope-a-dope that's going to continue as long as you continue to fall for it. Let me keep going. Black people, black youth are about 6 times more likely than white youth to be victims of homicide. White people are more likely to graduate high school, read at grade level. We have a big burden of things like hypertension, stuff like that. Most preventable illnesses uh, hit black people harder than white people do, right? Things that come from overdosing on fried chicken or just or stress on the job, things like that. So we have this big set of problems. And I'm not here to really tell anybody whether they should feel like Stephen A's right or Jasmine Crockett's right. I know that there's a lot of feelings about this, but I need to ask y'all a simple question. After you finish screaming, hollering, swinging your neck, cussing out Stephen A, talking about his hairline, who's gonna solve the fucking problem? Like, I mean, is that really? I mean, is that all that we believe we can do? Is just talk and make fun of somebody? Because look, I'm not sitting here. It's weird. It's weird. I feel weird defending Stephen A. because I don't defend everything he does. Some of the stuff Stephen A. does doesn't make sense to me. I remember one time when Stephen A. got in trouble where there was a white woman who violated company policy and basically called him a sexist on the internet. And because she was a white woman, they suspended Stephen A. and made him apologize, and they didn't do anything to the white woman. I said, wait a minute, this white woman violated company policy. She should have gotten fired, but they didn't do that because it was in the height of the Me Too movement, and I didn't like that at all. And I feel like Stephen A. caved to that, right? But him caving to that, that's probably why he has this opportunity at ESPN and all that other stuff, and that's fine. I don't want to go to that corporate plantation, but that's fine. That's him. And what I really think is the most controversial thing I'm going to say today is that I think that we should listen to all black people who have actual solutions. There's something I wrote about in my book. I wrote a book called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And in my book, I talk about something called economic maturity. And economic maturity is like any other type of maturity where you go from behaving like a child versus behaving like an adult. And another area where you could call political maturity is where you go from responding to things like a child to responding to things like an adult, where you go from screaming and hollering and yelling and clap backing and snapping and neck swinging and making jokes to actually laying out real solutions, real policy. Where you go from being Plies, who's a rapper who actually had a song. I don't think I remember Plies' song. I know the song because I'm a finance professor. His song was "I Got Plenty Money." I got plenty of money. If you remember his song, he bragged about prison. He said, if I ever go to prison, I'm gonna have plenty stories. Right? So literally, my question to Plies, if Plies is mad about what Stephen A said and he's cussing him out, yeah, you motherfucker, you blah 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 blah. Okay, well, my question for you would be, what is your solution? Or is your only goal to yell and scream and cuss and make people think that you're cool? See, the problem for y'all black folks, you gotta confront this. Is you got a culture where too many people spend time trying to look cool when you in an incredibly uncool situation. You rather look good than to actually be good. You rather look like you fly than to actually be in a good situation. So ultimately, it's a battle. It's not a battle of Democrat Republican. It's not a battle of rich or poor. I don't even know how much of it's a battle of black and white. It's a battle of substance over flash. Do you want to have substance in what you say? Or do you want to sound good saying it? Because I'm not a flashy Negro. I can't say nothing. I can't sound hip. I don't know how to be cool. I don't give a fuck about that. I care about my family. I care about not having to bow and get on my knees and tickle a white man's testicles every time he walks in the room. I care about being able to have my children be proud of me when I die and say this man improved my life. I care about my woman. I care about my future. I care about my health. I care about my community. I want to see no more dead babies in black neighborhoods. I don't give a shit if it's a Democrat or Republican running the community. That's what I want to see. So the question that I ask you that's bothering me, that's really weird to me, is why is that radical? Why would somebody say, well, wait, you care about black people, you big old coon. Wait, oh, you don't want any dead black babies in the street? Well, you a sellout. What? Really? You want black people to have wealth? Oh, you old Uncle Tom. Huh? You want black children to not go through abusive, unstable situations in their household? Well, you a sellout Negro. Does anybody else understand how backward this is? I mean, how crazy that is? Look, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna play what Stephen A. said about Jasmine Crockett again, and I want y'all to show me one time where he insulted her. He goes. It seems like from what I'm hearing, he went out of his way to be polite and to say, "I respect you. I respect you. I respect you." He gave out a lot of respect that wasn't nobody really giving him. A lot of disrespect was being thrown at him. I didn't see anybody say, "Hey, I respect Stephen A., but I disagree," or "Hey, brother, I want to hear what you got to say, but hey, I think you're wrong." That's where you're debating ideas. All I heard was you old coon, Uncle Tom, no hairline, have a knuckle. You old, there's no hair in the back of you up here talking crazy. And it's really funny. You know what's really funny to me is it's all under this whole guise of like, yeah, we're protecting black women. It ain't protecting black women. Stop that. You're protecting the Democratic Party because if you were all about protecting black women, then you would have stood up for Candace Owens when T.I. talked over her and told her to shut the fuck up at an event. I don't know if y'all remember that. Candace Owens was talking and T.I. said, I'm not, she said, would you let me finish? He said, no, because you talking that bullshit. And everybody's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So to hell, get off the whole protect black women mantle. This ain't protecting black women. You care about black women who are Democrats. That's what you care about. Let's just be honest. The masters in his plantation has split your community in half and said, look, these Negroes you can be cool with. These black people over here, you can't mess with them. You got to attack them. You got to hate them as much as we hate them. We hate the black Republicans because they a bunch of dumb niggas, and you better call them dumb niggas too. Implies with DL, all of them, the lineup, yeah, you're dumb nigga, you're stupid nigga, you're bad, you're... No, man, that's not maturity. I think every black person has a right to be heard. I think every black person who is speaking and says, I put the black community first. I'm not putting this Democrat Republican stuff first. I'm putting the black community first. Every person who says that deserves to be heard. So that means if Roland Martin says, hey, I want to put the black community first, so I'm going to criticize some Democrats, but I'm going to really criticize some Republicans, then I'll hear that. But if all you do is talk about what the Republicans did wrong, but you can't talk about your Democrats, and you talk about Trump being a criminal, but you can't talk about Joe Biden's son being a damn criminal, that tells me what game you want. You on that plantation game, man. That's what you're doing. You're doing plantation politics. Black people have been doing plantation politics since slavery, and I want y'all to ask me. Give me a yes in the chat if you will agree with me on this. The black community has not made a lot of progress in the last 30 years. Would y'all agree with that statement? Tell me yes or no. I'm getting a little bit hot. Would you agree with me that the black community has not made much progress in the last 30 years when it comes to wealth? I got statistics in case you need some. Give me a yes if you agree that the black community has not made progress when it comes to family structure. Yes or no? Give me a yes if you agree that the black community has not made progress when it comes to, like, say, eighth grade reading levels because your fucking kids can't read. Give me a yes or no. What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? Why are you working so hard to defend bullshit? It's insanity to me. I don't understand that. If I'm really looking to solve the problem, I'm going to find black people who also want to improve the condition of the community, and I'm going to partner with those people. I don't care what your political affiliation is. Because if you look at the statistics on black children and education, they've gone down. And some of these districts are being run by your favorite black Democrats. So something's wrong here. Can we at least agree that something's wrong, or do we think everything's wonderful? And this ain't got nothing. Notice I'm not even bringing up Trump at all. I'm not even talking about him. I don't care for him. I have nothing to say about him. He's another white president. Big freaking deal. We've had a bunch of them. He's a little different. He's ghetto. He's immature. Yeah, Jasmine Crockett's immature. He's immature. So I guess it's a race to the bottom. Like, let's see who can throw the dozens the best, who can make the best jokes about each other. If that's what you want, then I want you to look at that, and then I want you to look at your life, and I want you to look at your neighborhood, and I want you to look at your family. I want you to look at your wealth. I want you to look at your community and look at their situation. And I want you to ask yourself that basic question: has that improved the condition of my community? If it hasn't, then you're basically engaged in entertainment. That's it. So let me see if I can pull this Stephen A video up, because I was trying to find a Jasmine Crockett statement as well. I don't know if she's done a lot of content on this. So Stephen A is the one that did the most talking. So I'm gonna go ahead and just play what he said. You can, but I encourage you, look up what everybody said. Like, listen to every single person. I listened to Plies. I listened, of course, Willie D's one of my best friends, man. I listened to Willie. I listened to DL. I listened to everybody, and I was looking. I listened carefully for one thing. The one thing I listen for is I listen for a solution. I listened to Plies carefully, and I did not catch one solution. I listened to DL and Roland and everybody else, and I listened to there was a guy, the Funky Deneva. I was listening specifically to say, is there anything constructive here? Is there any mutual respect? Is anybody saying, hey, look, man, I respect you, but let's debate the facts. Let's talk about why you're wrong and I'm right. And I want you to start getting used to that. I really hope that those of you that want to understand what it means to solve a problem, that you start looking for facts and information and actual a strategy, as opposed to just looking for somebody with the best zinger, the best one-liner. Let me play with some more of what Stephen A says. So here it goes. Here, I'm gonna play it right now.
I know what his agenda is. I'm not exactly in a position to stop him since the Republicans have the Senate and the House. But maybe if I'm willing to work with this man, I might get something out of it for my constituency. Because like Joe Manchin said, he's there to represent, or was there for 15 years to represent, the people of West Virginia. She's supposed to be there to represent the people of Texas. I don't know, maybe that just sounds ignorant because it's so simple. But it ain't that damn complicated. We make it complicated. Damn, it's frustrating. It really can be. And all the verbiage and all the nonsense that I've heard over the last few days is why it can get exhausting. Because nothing frustrates me more than when people have the truth at their disposal and they choose, maybe not lie, maybe not even embellish, but allow their emotions to usurp facts, and all of a sudden want to use that as an excuse to label me as being something and doing something I'm neither not nor have I done, which in this case is disrespecting Representative Crockett out of Texas, who, by the way, has had an invite to this show for weeks, by the way. Governors Josh Shapiro and Spencer Cox came on this show. Senator Lindsey Graham came on this show. Joe Manchin, now retired, came on this show. Bill O'Reilly, Bill Maher came on this show, okay? And more coming. And she has an invite. And AOC has an invite. Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic House leader, he just was on this show. I've invited Jasmine Crockett. I have nothing but respect for her. I just disagree on what she's making headlines for, because I think it's counterproductive to the ultimate goal. But yet, here we are, and the word disrespect comes in, and people try to engage with words, like disrespect and implying misogyny and all of this other nonsense. Stop it. Stop it. Can we be grown-ups and deal with what the real issue is involving what I said? Willie D.
Okay, all right. So let me stop right there. I think that's really I think that's really what's going on here. I'm trying to really understand this, and because I was just listening to what different people had to say, and I think that the question I would ask anybody, and including my good friend Willie, I'm gonna call him and just talk to him about it, because I understand how he feels, and I told you I respect him, but I really want to know, after we finish cussing Stephen A out, where are we going to get a better deal as a community? After we finish complaining about Donald Trump, where do Black people get a better deal? After we finish cussing people out and yelling and screaming and being, mad about everything, where are we getting a better deal? And the question then asks, as we're going back and trading insults, is the black community really even considered in this conversation? Meaning, do we know the difference between things that are going to make you feel good in the moment versus things that are really going to fix things? And if so, what things are you actually fixing? What are we really, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's a matter of us getting used to politics just being a big circus. Because that's kind of what American politics is. It doesn't really amount to much in terms of positive outcomes, right? You don't really see black people benefiting as a community from one political party over another. Now you can see losses. The Democrats did support more black jobs for sure, but even when Democrats were in power, you didn't see black wealth going up. You saw during the pandemic, black people were the first ones to die, largely because of preventable health issues. And there's something about wanting to improve the black community that makes people angry. There's something about wanting to provide solutions that people don't like. There's something about that. There's something about saying, okay, I get it that you're mad about the Republicans, but can we please raise the reading levels of these kids in this school? And people just kind of don't want that. I think sometimes we don't want to do the boring work. The boring work is, um, let's go build some businesses. The boring work is, let's make sure that the kids can read. The boring work is, how do we make a black man healthier? The boring work is, how do we make sure that everybody gets therapy so we're not going off on each other, cussing each other out and going crazy, right? And I think that's what I would love to see. I didn't, I'm not offended by Stephen A's words because Stephen A has a right to say what he wants to say. And I think Jasmine Crockett should understand if you go into the arena and you start slinging stuff and saying things, like somebody's going to sling something back. And again, it ain't about protecting black women because you don't protect black women who are Republicans, you protect black women who are Democrats. So this is more of a Democratic Party thing than it is a black white thing. And what the Democrats do that is so racist, and the Republicans kind of do it in their own way, is they will make race connect to blackness. Like they'll just literally that whole Joe Biden, if you won't vote for me, then you ain't black. And they'll say, okay, these are the racist white people. You can only say, pay attention now, if you notice, the only time like a Roland Martin will talk about white people in a certain way is when he's talking about white Republicans. He cannot talk about the racism in his own party. You do not hear him talk about that because those are his masters. Those people will beat it, will spank his ass. If you remember, the New York City mayor, Eric Adams, he is an interesting guy. I wish I could talk to him because he's one of the few politicians I'd love to just get to know because I remember he did something that was really interesting. He jumped ship to some extent. He told the Democrats, "Screw you! Like this, what you're asking me to do makes no sense." If you remember, they started putting all those migrants in New York, and he couldn't afford to pay for all of them. He said, "We're hurting the people of the city of New York by paying for all these people that just got here. These people don't even live here, and you're forcing me to spend over $1 billion taking care of them. You need to send a check for that." And they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't respond, right? So he said, "Screw this, I'm not doing it." So he started changing the policies. And what did they do? The next thing they did was they indicted him. They indicted him. And so the Democratic Party, to some extent, is it's not just a plantation. It's a place where they sort of manage black people. And if you step out of line, if you start saying, "Well, this don't make sense. I don't want to do this anymore," then you'll get spanked in public. Uh, in fact, when I even think about even the indictment of Kwame Kilpatrick in Detroit, I'm not saying Kwame was innocent at all. I do know Kwame, but I will say that politics is so complicated that in many cases, when you see a black person get indicted, in many cases there's a political motivation. So, for example, if you ask me, Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, is she being indicted for political reasons? Absolutely yes. Most black people will say absolutely yes. It's definitely political. Trump's going after her because he wants to get revenge for the fact that she was trying to prosecute him. Fine. But then when I turn to, say, the Kwame Kilpatrick situation, and I say, do you think there's a chance that could have been political too? Except maybe the aggressor wasn't the Republicans. Maybe his fellow Democrats hung him out to dry. People have a hard time believing that. And I do know, I thought it was interesting when I heard Kwame say that his mother went to Barack Obama and said, Because he said I knew Obama was going to get me out. He said I just knew it was going to happen. He said Obama just kind of abandoned him, and he said that his mother went and said, "Do you see what they're doing to my son?" And according to Kwame, he said Barack said, "Yes, I do," and then he walked away. He just left. He said "Yes, I do," and then left. And so Trump ends up getting him out, right? And so what's interesting to me is that I think that the one of the biggest things about the black community is that I've concluded that you are not going to the black community, the segment of the black community that actually does well going forward in this generation and the next, are going to be the ones who don't get tangled in a lot of plantation politics. Like the ones that are going to do well, or are the ones who are going to spend more energy doing the basic things that improve your life versus getting riled up over what one political party did or the other. To some extent, that's almost like me getting mad because the Dallas Cowboys lost the game, and or Ohio State won a championship. Those things are exciting to me. I get pumped up. I watched Louisville play yesterday. I'm from Louisville. They had a great game, but never once has there ever been a time where Louisville won a football game and came and sent me a check or gave me the trophy or fixed my roof because they won the game, right? Never once has that happened. So everything I get when Louisville wins is symbolic. Everything I get is emotional. And the African American community is really, really trained to be highly emotional when it comes to our politicians. Not to say white people can't too. I mean, Lord knows, ain't nobody more emotional than a white woman, a white liberal female. They get all crazy about their stuff too, and that's fine. It's what people do. But what I will tell you is that when you look at the variables that determine whether your life is better or not, it mostly comes down to what you do. It really does. It really does. It really comes down to are you taking care of your kids? Are you taking care of your health? Are you working hard at something every day? Are you working to improve your skill, get an education? Are you saving your money? Are you loving your woman? Are you taking care of your wife and your kids? Just what are you doing in your own personal life? And that's what I would say that anybody who wants to be safe in a world that's full of political gangsterism should focus on that. Focus on you. Focus on what you're doing. And then when you go vote, again, I'm not here to tell anybody not to vote. Sure, I get it. Voting is very powerful. It's very powerful for wealthy people. Getting your vote gives power to them. Your vote does not empower you, but your vote gives you the ability to give power to wealthy people because the politicians can't run without getting $250 million or something like that from very wealthy people. Regular people don't write checks that big. They can't do that. That's why Cory Booker will always be more loyal to AIPAC than he'll ever be to your black ass. Let's just be clear. I hope you get that. Yeah, same thing. The Donald Trumps will always be much more loyal to Benjamin Netanyahu than they'll ever be to any toothless Republican hillbilly in the hills of Appalachia. So this is a money game. And so your vote does have voting is power for sure. It's just not power for you. Okay. So when you show up and you vote, I would hope that you can vote for politicians that are going to improve your life. I don't think there's anything crazy about that. I don't think there's anything controversial about what I said. There's nothing sinister or wild or ridiculous or outlandish about a black man saying, when you vote, do what's best for you and your family. And anybody who has an issue with that, I would like to just hear them. I'd like to say, well, what is your issue? Now, if your response is, "Oh, you old raggedy Uncle Tom, no, you ain't got no hair on your head, and you're short anyway," like that tells me that you're deflecting from the issue, right? That tells me that you don't have a point. That tells me you have no facts. That tells me you're not here to make a debate. You're here to play the dozens. Maybe you want to be a comedian. Maybe you just want to entertain. Maybe we could do some buck dancing and cabbage patching while you at it. But all that buck dancing, cabbage patching, and political twerking, that's what we should call it, political twerking, yelling, screaming, "That raggedy nigga, he ain't nothing." And let me tell y'all that all that political twerking ain't the same as political working. Twerking ain't the same as working. And you got a whole lot of people out here that know this. You got a whole lot of political figures that will spend more time engaging in political twerking so that they can avoid actually working. So after the politician finishes yelling, screaming, and cussing and telling you, calling Trump the orange man and whatever the hell they like to do, I get it. He's a funny looking man. I would dare anybody who cares to stop him and say, okay, Well, in my neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, there was two children that were shot last week. What are you doing to make sure that that doesn't happen anymore? Right? Or you say, we really want reparations because white folks, y'all been stealing our money for 400 years, and I could use some of that money to build my business. How do you feel on reparations? What are you going to do? What are you doing specifically to make sure that happens? I don't know. Our kids aren't reading at grade level, and that's been going on for the last 20 years in this district. And we'd really like to get some resources so that we can make sure our kids get a good education, that our kids are more important than the teachers' unions, who you always take care of. And we kind of need some resources to help make that happen. What are you doing to make that occur? And 9 times out of 10, they can't really give you an answer. So I'm gonna tell you the truth. American politics is very confusing to me. It's confusing, but it makes sense. It makes sense because it explains why Black people haven't gotten anywhere. It makes sense why you're getting no progress. It makes sense why you're doing a whole lot of putting out a whole lot of energy and getting a whole lot of nothing. A whole lot of political twerking, and just like a stripper twerking in the club, that twerking ain't really doing nothing unless somebody's putting money in your thong. Then if that's the case, then that's cool because a lot of these politicians they're twerking for the same reason strippers are twerking. When the more they twerk, the more money somebody puts in their thong, but they're not putting food in your stomach. They're not putting education in the minds of your children. They're not putting safety in your community. They're not helping to build the community that you care about. So if you love Black people, you'll think about what I'm saying. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm not picking a side with Stephen A. or Jasmine Crockett. I know that this is complex. I tell you what, it's really what's I'm still trying to process why Black people are so emotional about Democrat Republican stuff. Like where did we get this from? And I can't help but see that there is a connection between the church and the Democratic Party. And there's something about us worshiping that white man. There's something about that. If you look, for example, at some Black women, not all Black women, there's nobody they are more loyal to than their their Black pastor, their white politician, or their Democratic politician, and their white boss. Those tend to be three places where Black women's loyalty is paramount, right? The pastor says, jump up and down, they'll do it. The Democratic Party says, okay, go to church, and I want you to really, talk about gay people at church. They'll do that, or or whatever, right? Or the white boss says jump, we say how high. And then what ends up happening, and the men too, the men we have our issues as well, 100%. There's no question about that. But I think that what is interesting to me is that I wonder if there's a way we can have a community where I say, yeah, my white boss is cool. I don't have nothing against him, but I actually want to be the boss. Or maybe a woman says, I want my husband to be the boss, or I want my family to be the boss, right? I think the Black family should trump the corporate plantation. I really do. I think the Black owned business should trump that. And maybe it takes courage to do that. Maybe we don't believe we're capable of doing that. Or when you talk about politicians, I think that maybe instead of saying, I'm going to do whatever the Democratic Party tells me to do, I say, look, I'm a free American. I'm going to vote for whatever party I want. It ain't none of your damn business who I vote for. And how dare you tell me that if I don't vote for you, you ain't Black? That might be a better form of leadership. And I think that there are smart people, logical people who get what I'm saying. Some people won't get it. Some people get emotional. And just so you know, don't waste your emotion on me because I'm not worth it. But I don't understand screaming and hollering. In fact, all the men who are screaming and hollering and getting emotional, I think that you probably got that from your mama. Like I really encourage you to learn how to think like men and think logically and be able to say, okay, what's the solution? What's the battle plan? How are we actually going to win? As opposed to thinking that if I call somebody a name or cuss somebody out, that's the same as actually winning. That's not really winning. And then in the third area, I think when it comes to the church, I think that spirituality and faith should be respected. But I would tell the politician, you have no business being in my church. You have no business telling me, this would be something I would want to speak to Jamal Bryant about. Why in the hell is a politician in the house of God telling me well how I should feel about abortion? Right? I mean, does anybody else find that disturbing? I don't even go to church and I'm disturbed by it. I can't imagine the people that actually do. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't see anything in the Bible where they're like, yeah, you ain't got enough money, go kill your baby. That seems kind of weird. Like I'm not judging. I'm not judging anybody who got an abortion. I'm not here to make you feel bad. I'm just here to say maybe that shouldn't be talked about in church. Maybe that shouldn't be. like the title of the sermon for today, thou shalt abort your baby, right? Whatever, right? Like I just don't get that. And what's interesting to me is that to some extent that Stockholm syndrome is 100% real. We are really controlled by these damn political parties, and to the point where we will be more loyal to the political parties than we are to ourselves. That is a self-esteem issue. There's nothing threatening about somebody just hearing what Stephen A has to say and then saying, ah, man, I don't agree with that. That's wrong. Or you know, what he said about Jasmine Crockett, that ain't true. Right? Like whatever, right? I mean, what is so threatening about that, right? There's nothing threatening about when I look at Jasmine Crockett, I don't really get offended by it. I think I just pay very close attention to the actual substance of what you're doing and what results you're actually getting, right? So it's like football or something, right? If somebody runs up and down the field and they're running in the wrong direction, but they're running a lot and jumping a lot and dancing a lot, and that's not the same as running down the field and scoring a touchdown. So my criticism is not that you don't have the right to run around and run in circles and jump up and down and do jumping jacks. My question would be, are we actually getting to the end zone? Or do you think that because you've exerted this energy that somehow you're getting to the end zone? Also, who are you really playing for? What team are you playing for? Every time you got the ball, you ran in the other direction. Like who are you impressing with this type of play? And I say that because you got to be careful with your politicians because a lot of politicians are performing. They're performing for the APACs. They're performing for the billionaires. They're performing for the white liberals, right? You know, like I think I heard Jasmine Crockett talk about black people, but then she instantly attached black people to, black in the LGBT community and the trans community and the blah 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 and the da da da, right? So she literally took all these other labels and connected them to blackness, right? It's like a little package, right? And I get it. It's all about sort of pulling together these coalitions so you can get more votes and get more money and all that stuff. And I get it. I know that's how the game of politics is played, but I don't like when people are playing around with my birthright. I don't like when people are playing around with our unique struggle as black people and what we uniquely went through and somehow putting us in the LGBT trans feminist package. I don't get that. I don't really want to do that. Right. I want to talk about specifically what is happening in our community, and I don't like the lies. I think the lies are the part that bothers me the most. When I live in Chicago, and I know specifically about neighborhoods in Chicago that black people in Chicago can't even go to without worrying about being killed. And then hearing a white person from the north side of town say, everything's fine. That reminds me of the Deep South when they used to say, don't be messing with our Negroes. We got our Negroes under control. These are good black folks. You up here just riling them up over nothing. That's what I hear them saying. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing them say, everything's fine. Dead black baby over here. Nothing to see here, people. No, nothing to see. We have an acceptable number of dead blacks. So we only had 500 dead black people last year. So nothing to see here. And I'm the one who's like, what do you mean there's nothing to see here? And this is where I want you to understand, this is what racism looks like. A lot of times we can only see racism when it comes from a Republican, but what racism looks like is when somebody feels that their life is more valuable than yours. Racism, one way of looking at it, or one manifestation of racism, is when people assume that it's something that is okay for you is not okay for them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like when they say 500 dead black people in Chicago, well, that's good. The murder rate has dropped. But if they had that many dead white people, tell me if you agree. Tell me if you agree with this. If they think a process is like this, black people aren't even the majority of the citizens in Chicago, but we're the majority of the deaths. Is anybody else disturbed about this, or am I just the only crazy black person who says maybe we should stop killing so many black people and letting them just die on the street? Or am I a radical for saying this? Really, I mean, process this for a minute. If we're not if we're the minority of the city, we should be the minority of the deaths, right? Um, but yet we're the majority of the deaths. My sister worked she did autopsies in Chicago. Lots of dead black people in Chicago. And I'm trying to just really understand how it is that if white people were dying at the same rate, you would literally declare that to be a state of emergency. you would literally be like, let's get the National Guard, we got to stop this no matter what. But when black people are dying, it's like, yeah, but the number went down. We had 600 last year. We had 550 this year. So 550 dead Negroes is acceptable. You sound like Uncle Tom's Cabin. The book Uncle Tom's Cabin, there was a point where they said there was a fire. They said, did anybody die? They said, no, just two Negroes. They said, good. I'm glad nobody died. Did you catch that? They literally, because only black people died, they were like, oh, well, it's okay. I mean, at least nobody important died. So that's what Chicago says. They say, well, it's only black people, so nobody important's being killed. Everything's fine. It's a beautiful city. Everything's wonderful. So I don't know if anybody else is bothered by any of this. And I don't really want to get into the Democrat versus Republican thing. I'll tell you another thing that I don't tolerate is I don't tolerate anybody who gonna tell me that because I don't want to be a Democrat that I must be a Republican. My response is very clear. My response is fuck you. You are not here to take away my rights. I know my rights. You are not here to suppress me. You are never going to tell me who I can vote for. I'm a grown ass man. I'm gonna do what I want in my house. You do not tell me what my wife can't even tell me who to vote for. Nobody is gonna tell me who to vote for. You can tell me your opinion. You can give me your perspective. I'll listen to you all day. I'm not gonna cuss you out. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, you a coon, you're a coon and no, you ain't got no right to talk, boy. Yeah, you're big coon." I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna respect you. I'm gonna say, "Okay, so tell me, help me understand where you're coming from." Okay, and I'm gonna say, "Yeah, I really get that. I totally hear where you're coming from. I disagree though. Now let's go get some coffee because we're friends. Because we're not gonna let those assholes in Washington ruin our friendship." Am I the only grown folk in America? Am I the only grown ass man in this country? I don't think I am. I hope I'm not. I hope that there are other people who get it. This stuff is stupid to me. It is so juvenile. It is so immature. And I'm looking for some leaders. I'm looking for some adults. I'm looking for some rational people who give a damn about this country. Because this is going to destroy America, by the way. White people are just as bad as black people are. All the emotion is going to destroy America. You're going to have civil wars and everything. And it ain't going to be just Democrat, Republican, because believe me, if it wasn't just, the reason I know it ain't going to be just Democrat, Republican is I'm going to ask you this, and I really want anybody to give me a serious answer to this. By the way, in case you're wondering, I'm really talking more about politics right now. I usually talk about the economics, but also, as you know, economics drives politics. So I really am talking about economics, but it sounds like I'm talking about politics. But the money drives all of this. Let's just be clear. When I saw Letitia James getting prosecuted by Donald Trump, Letitia James is the Attorney General of New York. I asked that question. I said, why didn't Joe Biden give you a pardon like he did all those other people? I mean, he could just. I mean, can somebody answer me? It's a serious question. I really want to know. Couldn't Biden give her a pardon? Didn't remember all the pardons he gave? I really let me look this up. I'm dead serious here. How many pardons did Joe Biden give before he left office? Okay. I'm gonna ask AI right now, and I'm gonna come back with a number in a minute. Did anybody see how many pardons I mean, that man was giving out pardons like Tic Tacs. Right? His old crackhead son got okay. Biden issued 4,245 acts of clemency during his 2021 to 25 term. Okay, and one source says he pardoned roughly 70 individuals in total. So I guess clemency. So okay, wait, but for the 4,245 were clemency and pardon commutations and pardons. Okay, the larger number includes both types of clemency actions. Okay, so I want to find out how many. I don't know if you call them unconditional future pardons. I don't know what they're called. Does anybody know what they're called? Because I didn't know this. They actually don't they have a pardon you can get even if you didn't do anything? Tell me, somebody help me. Somebody help me. Tell me if that is the case. I'm really asking a serious question. I really want to know. Tell me, I'm looking here, maybe there's a lawyer in the room. Y'all are pretty smart black people. Um, Okay, I really want to understand. Let me see here. Okay. So according to the constitutional legal precedent, a U.S. president cannot grant a pardon for future crimes not yet committed. Okay. So here's what is known regarding Joe Biden is preemptive pardons based on existing sources. The president issued a full and unconditional pardon for his son Hunter on December 1st, 2024, covering those offenses he has committed or may have committed from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024. Okay, so you can't commit or you can't get a pardon for future crimes. Okay, got it. The term may have committed in that pardon refers to offenses within that time period. Okay, let's see here. I'm trying to see. There's no reliable evidence that he granted any unconditional pardons. Okay, but for crimes that are not committed, but he did grant pardons for crimes that had already been committed that maybe weren't unearthed through an investigation, right? So I really got to understand. I'm dead serious about this. Letitia James put herself right in the line of fire, right, to go after Trump. It was a political prosecution. Don't say that it wasn't. Maybe you could say Trump's a criminal. I would agree with you on that. But it was political in this sense. It was political because if Trump had been a Democrat, tell me if you agree with this. If Trump had been a Democrat, they wouldn't have prosecuted him. Tell me if you agree. This is my belief. This is my belief that if he had been a Democrat, I don't think they would have prosecuted him, right? So you done jumped out here in the line of fire on behalf of these white folks in the Democratic Party because they're like, go get Trump, go get Trump. So they grab you, they grab Alvin Bragg, they grab the lady down, not Fannie Lou Hamer, that's her name, but Fannie Willis, and they love they have the black people on the front lines all the time. I believe they use black people as human shields. I do believe that. I think that they say, well, we're gonna hide under the cloak of racism because racism works to our advantage. So we're going to put the black person out there, and the black person says, "Oh, look at me. I'm so proud. They picked me. They picked me." And we're so proud when white folks pick us for an important job, right? We don't even wonder about the job, whether you should be doing the job. We're just so happy to be picked. And your grandma's like, "Oh, but she's on TV," and right? But you're not really asking yourself, is this a job that could get me killed or indicted? Again, I'm not saying that she shouldn't have done it or that Trump's not guilty. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not here defending him at all. I don't do that. I'm asking y'all a real question. Somebody tell me, why didn't she get a pardon too? I just really want to know. I'm really looking for somebody. If somebody's politically connected, text me and message me and tell me. My email is boyce@boycewatkins.com. Email me and tell me why Biden didn't give her a pardon and how she feels about that. Because but again, there's got to be a solution. There's got to be a reason. That I keep asking it like this almost desperately because I'm like, there's got to be a reason because she's smart. She's a lawyer, so she would know. And she knows how Trump's petty. Trump likes to get revenge on people. What happened here? I don't know. But I personally just think that, and maybe we're not ready for this yet, but I personally think that we should stop being used as people's political pawns. I think that the argument is very basic. Powernomics makes this argument extensively. It basically says that black people should be getting something for their vote and that you should be asking for tangible things. And that if all you're doing is getting emotional, where they just tell you, oh, Trump is a bastard, and you're like, yeah, he's a bastard, that's not actually going to solve any problems in your community. And that's where, I was like, well, let me just hear what Stephen A has to say. What is he saying? He says, well, this is the goal. I think I look at Stephen A as a guy who's probably a Republican. I'm not a Republican, but it sounds like he is. And he cares about black people in his own way. I really do. I think that because he has a black daughter, he has black women in his family. He's just the old conservative uncle. He's the uncle in the barbershop who will go to the barbershop and argue with you over why he likes Trump and doesn't like the Democrats. I've never seen that person to be a threat. I think that the removal of the old conservative uncle from family conversations was something that was orchestrated by the Democratic Party's consistent destruction of the black family. I think that when they created the welfare state in the black community, they went out of their way to make sure that you felt that masculinity was both ignorant and toxic, and that men did not deserve to be listened to unless they were agreeing with their mother and their grandmother. Tell me if you know what I'm talking about. That there's a reason why they worked so hard in the 90s to incarcerate black men and marginalize black men is because they didn't want black men to be even part of the conversation. And I would say anybody who loves black men, And in fact, how many of you love black men? Give me a yes in the chat if you love black men, respect black men, just want to see black men do well, want to see black men strong again. Give me a yes if you're in this category. I think if you love black men, you'll listen to black men. I don't really understand why I can sit here and I can listen to somebody who disagrees with me politically. I know guys who go through this, guys who go out on dates and they will be on a date with a woman and she'll say something about how she hates Trump or loves the Democrats or loves her white Jesus or whatever, and the man will say, "Well, I don't want to go to church," or I don't really think that ICE is bad. I don't like the migrants moving in my neighborhood." And I've seen men tell me that the woman won't go on a date with him anymore. So you talk about liberal ideas destroying the black family, conservative ideas. I mean, I'm not here to be a Republican, but that's a direct hit on the family. They got you literally choosing your pastor and your politician over your husband, the man who might be the father of your children. You're exterminating your family before it's even born over something that's not worth fighting about. If I'm going to fight with my woman, I will never fight with my woman over what the pastor said. I will never fight my woman over what the politician said. I will never fight my woman over what my boss said. Do you understand? That will never happen. You will never see. If I fight my woman, it's going to be over something that relates to the family. If I fight my woman, it'll be something maybe that relates to the children. It might be something that relates to the family business. It might be something that relates to our legacy. I am not going to fight a black woman in my family over politics, Democrat, Republican politics, and disavow your own loved ones for people who have never shown any concern for you at all. Again, I go back to Letitia James. I just need to ask you, I don't understand. You need to help me understand. I'm really just asking out of curiosity. Now that you're going through this prosecution, and it's going to be expensive because Trump has lots of money and lots of power. Um, did those people give you a pardon? And why not? And maybe there's a technicality. Maybe you can't pardon an attorney general in New York while she's in office. I don't know. But I'm sitting here just saying, Lord, man, this is insanity to me. This makes no sense to me. Um, and so I'm not gonna keep on talking about it. I'm just gonna say that I think that as black people, I think we gotta look at ourselves in the mirror. And I don't care what political side you're on, I think you gotta really ask yourself, what's the difference between making real progress versus having the illusion of progress? Like, really, what's the difference between solving a problem versus jumping up and down, swinging your arms, cussing people out, and acting like you actually solved the problem? What's the difference between running in place and draining lots of energy versus actually getting down the road? And I don't know if we have really thought about that. I think that we can become so emotional that we think that being emotional and yelling and screaming and raising your cortisol levels and stressing yourself out is the same as actually doing something. And I don't think that's it. I would just say that the enemy is not, if you disagree with Stephen A is not the enemy. Because he said he called Jasmine Crockett brilliant. He said, I respect these people. I want to hear from people who disagree with me. That's the most he can do. You can't make this man believe what you believe. That's not right, right? The enemy really is the lack of progress. The enemy is the poverty. The enemy is the dead children in black neighborhoods. The enemy is the fact that the majority of black children can't read at grade level. The enemy is declining black wealth. The enemy is the broken black family. So I would just ask you to hear me on this. And again, let me know if it's okay for us to disagree and still be cool with each other. That's the thing I want to do. I want to be my goal, my flex is simple. I love the fact that I think we've been able to create a space where people can have different opinions and still talk to each other and still realize that we're not each other's enemy. That I could fight you over politics. I could, go to war with you and stab you because you're a Republican and I'm not. We've chosen the bigger battle. That's a black consciousness issue. That's a consciousness thing. Remember, consciousness is every morning, there's almost 10,000 of you that come to class every morning. And what are we talking about? We talk about financial consciousness. And consciousness is awareness. Consciousness is seeing the bigger picture. And we talk about really investing consciousness. And I'm not talking about just financial investing. I'm talking about where do you invest your attention? Where do you invest your energy? Where do you invest in your skill? And there's no group that is a greater beneficiary of black investment than rich white people and rich white politicians. There's no group that benefits more from your investment than white people do. How do I know that? Well, there's no group that's a bigger beneficiary of your financial investment because you spend all your money at the mall. A lot of us do. There's no greater beneficiary of your time investment because you're trained to spend more time with your boss than you spend with your own children. There's no greater beneficiary of your investment of attention because with your scroll on social media, you're making Mark Zuckerberg another $1 billion every couple of months. So the question to ask is this. It's real simple, real simple. Communities and projects fail due to a lack of investment, whether it's a child, a home, or a neighborhood. They're failing because of a lack of investment from who? Well, white people are not going to invest in building black children. White people are not going to invest in building black families. White people are not going to invest in building black neighborhoods. Do you agree with me? So when the community and the family and the child are failing due to a lack of investment, who is responsible for the lack of investment? Well, we know that it's not white people because white people, it's not their job to invest in your family. It's your job, right? But here's the thing. Your children, your families, and your communities are failing due to a lack of investment, but it's not as if you're not exerting time, money, energy, and attention. Do you follow me? Tell me if you can follow this. I'm doing some 2+2 type analysis. We're walking down the pathway to solve a mystery of what happened to the black community. This is what we're doing. It's a Scooby-Doo mystery. So the black family, child, and community have failed due to a lack of investment. We've concluded that it is the black community's responsibility to make that investment. They're not making the investment, but it's not as if you're not doing something with your time, your money, and your attention. You got 1.7 trillion in income flowing through. If you were a country, you'd be one of the richest countries on earth. You've got plenty of time. You have 24 hours in a day like everybody else. You're investing 40 hours a week, maybe 50 hours a week of labor. So that's roughly about 2,000 hours a year that we all do. And then also you're investing attention. You're paying attention to things, right? It's to the point where you're exhausted, you're stressed out, you're worn down. Well, what the hell are you investing your time, money, and energy into and attention into if you're worn down? But then when I look at it, I say, well, what do you got to show for that? Man, you are an exhausted black man. What do you got to show for that? And I go look at it. So if I want to see what you have to show for that, I'm gonna look at your children. Well, your children are raggedy. Your kids are abandoned. Your kids are suffering. So that wasn't where you spent your time, energy, and attention. Look at your family. Oh, your families are broken to pieces. Your single motherhood's everywhere. Baby daddy problems, all kinds of stuff. Okay. Your community. There's a lot of black neighborhoods you can go into and get shot on a Tuesday. So where did that energy go? It had to go somewhere. Energy is not created nor destroyed. It just changes hands. Well, you know where it went. Your money went into the white man's business. You complain about the white man all day, but then you turn around and give him all your money. Your time went to the white man's business because you're his employee. Your dream as a child is to grow up and to become his bitch. That's your goal. Your goal is, I want to be the bottom bitch. I want to be the biggest bitch. That's the goal. You don't have a dream bigger than that. So you go for the dream job with your idea of a dream job because I want to be his biggest bitch. Your attention is in his entertainment. He puts the TV in front of you, the internet, social media. You're scrolling. In between scrolling, you're going to work, and then you're spending money. Do you follow what I'm saying? Money is energy. Resources is energy. Wealth is energy. Where's your energy going? So what you have to do, really, in my opinion, is look at what I just said to you. And if you believe anything that I've just said, that means you're going to have to sit and meditate, brother. Sister, you're going to have to sit down and just look and say, what the hell am I doing? And then what will happen is when you start to meditate and you start to be a thinker, I'm going to just warn you right now, when you start becoming a thinker, when you're a thinker in the middle of chaos, you're not going to always fit in. When you become a king in the middle of clowns, all the clowns are going to do is clown you. They can't out-king you. They can't fight you because now you're a warrior. Now you're standing tall and strong. Now you can control your own destiny. So they're not going to try to out-king you. they're gonna try to outclown you. They're gonna make jokes. Oh, look at that nigga, look at his hair. He ain't got no, look at them shoes, boy. That boy's shoes, they ugly shoes. That's what they'll do. Right? So you'll and when you have that awareness though, you'll start having discernment. You'll start your self-esteem will rise. You'll start to value yourself. And when you value yourself, you won't waste your energy on behalf of other people. You'll target your energy specifically to the people that you care about. Tell me I'm lying. Does everybody get what I'm saying? When you're conscious about where your wealth is going, when I say wealth, I'm not talking about just money. I'm talking about your time, your money, and your attention. All those are forms of wealth. Attention is the new oil. That's how social media and AI is making so much money with your attention. Your time is the labor that you're putting into the job. That's worth trillions. And your money, that's also trillions. So when you are conscious about your wealth and you start thinking in a king-like fashion and you elevate and you're back straight and you start knowing who you are and you start questioning things, then what's going to happen is you're going to target your wealth in a manner that is much more strategic, in a manner that is much more calculated, in a manner that is built on preservation, and in a manner that's going to benefit you and the people you love. So people who do that, what ends up happening is that their children are better off. Anybody ever seen what a black child looks like when his daddy spends 3-4 hours a day with him? Anybody ever seen what a black family, your family will be better off. Anybody seen what a black family looks like when the family holds family business meetings and they spend that time, energy, and money getting family therapy and they pay attention to the family therapist who helps them heal from the trauma so they can get along and stay on the same team and become that gang that you've always been looking for, that group that's really going to make sure you're winning all the time. Has anybody ever seen a community where the members of the community are investing the bulk of their energy into building that community and making that community strong, stable, safe, and productive? Has anybody ever seen a community like that? Maybe white people do it sometimes. You see a community full of Karens where they all work for the HOA and they're all like reporting people for not having the right color trash can and making sure that they saw you leave your dog outside or you left some garbage on your front porch. Those communities are clean. Those communities are safe. Those communities are stable because people are pouring time and energy into that. They're not falling apart because everybody's off serving a master that cares nothing about them. So this is what I'm really getting to. This is where I want to get back to with this discussion, with the Stephen A thing and Jasmine Crockett. I don't care if you agree or not. I don't care whose side you're on. I'm on the side of black people. I'm on the side of those black people who at least understand that there's a problem and are really committed to questioning what we have and have not done to solve the problem. That's who I want to work with. And really, by the time we get done talking about the main thing, once we've made the main thing, we ain't even got time to talk about politics. I ain't got time to talk about a lot of things. I have people I've worked with for years. I've never even asked them if they went to college or not, because I know if you're smart or not. I know if you can do a job or not. I don't really care if you got a degree or not. I don't really care if you're Democrat or Republican. I really don't. I just say it's like you wearing the green shirt and me wearing the blue shirt. Okay, no, I don't care. Let's get to work. You solve your problems in a Republican way. I'm gonna solve my problems in a non-Republican way, and whatever. I just do not care. You're gay, okay? Get your gay ass over here. I don't care who you slept with last night. I hope you enjoyed it. You don't ask me who I slept with last night, and we're cool. Let's go together. You're bringing another perspective that I can learn from. And if I look at that as expansive as opposed to getting into some sort of turf war with you, then I can build with you. I don't have to sit here and fight with you. And what can make it hard though, is sometimes you don't want to fight. Sometimes you want to build, and you're around people who don't want to do that. You're trying to operate up here, and you got people trying to operate down here. You're trying to talk to somebody about the big picture, and all they can see is the little picture. Some of y'all are dating people like that. That's why you got to be careful with who you bring in your space. You got to be careful about which relatives you associate with, which people you hang out with. Some people are only able to look at the short term because they have not committed themselves to the maturity required to think about the big picture. And what that ends up feeling like is it makes you feel like you're dating a child. Imagine a 40-year-old man trying to date a 12-year-old, which is illegal, by the way, and nasty as hell. But imagine that. It's not going to work. He's going to say, well, what are we going to do for the next 10 years to make sure our grandchildren are in good shape? And she's going to say, I'm just mad because you didn't give me money for ice cream. And you give me money for ice cream, I'm not going to be mad at you anymore, right? You're like, how can you talk about ice cream? I'm talking about generational wealth. Well, if you're dating a dumb little kid, the little kid don't know nothing about no generational wealth. That kid's thinking about roller skates, right? So people have different levels of consciousness, and that's just what it is. And what I hate about American politics, honestly, is it makes our whole community, because we're listening to these dumbass celebrities. You got comedians and rappers giving political commentary. Diddy was running around talking about vote or die. You had Diddy, one of the nastiest sons of bitches on the planet, one of the sickest human beings out here, telling you who to vote for. I'm like, what is this world that we're in? I want to be black, but I don't want to be that kind of black. I don't even know if you call it black anymore. I don't know what we call it. I just want to call it happy. I want to call it safe. I want to call it productive. I want to call it successful. I want to compete. I want our kids to compete. Ain't nothing a white kid can do that your kid can't do. But that maybe that white kid is in a family where they're allowing him to really focus on the main thing, not to put them on a pedestal. But if you've ever seen like an Indian family and the way certain Indian families focus on education, they're like, forget politics. Don't nobody care if you vote or not. Chinese people don't vote. But they're like, but you better come home with straight A's and you better save your money. You better pour into the family business. You better respect your grandma. You better take care of your kids and you better handle things in the house. And then after that, the other things can become your extracurriculars. I think that because we forgot who we are, we take the extracurriculars and we make it the main thing. I will never understand a person who stops talking to their own loved one because they're in a different political party. That is a mental illness. That is insane. You really think you a Republican and you stop speaking to your cousin because he's a Democrat? You really think the Republicans are going to come down and help you the way your cousin would have helped you? You just lost the ally, man. Like that's crazy. And I think that that's the goal, though. I think that the goal is to make sure that you keep everybody at each other's throats so that you can't align. You can't cooperate with each other. You can't work together. You can't find the areas where you can come together. And so I want to say thank you to those of you who put up with me. I like my favorite thing to hear sometimes when I hear somebody say, "Yeah, I don't agree with what you said about that, but I like you, Dr. Boyce." I appreciate that because that says, okay, you know I ain't perfect. I'm not going to align with everything you believe, but my heart's trying to be in the right place. I'm trying to put my heart in the right place. You know what I mean? I'm trying to solve this damn thing. Right? And so many people get caught up in the minutia. And it's like, wait, I have a PhD in finance. Like your biggest problem is you're broke as fuck. You need money. You need to understand wealth. And you can't even hear a word I'm saying because I didn't vote for the same white man you voted for. Are you serious right now? Like that to me is just wild. Wild as hell. Like, look, and in fact, what's really shocking to me is like when I would hear my friends, one of my boys said that he said, yeah, I met a girl and I liked her and I wanted to keep going out with her. But when she found out that I didn't vote for Kamala Harris, she stopped going out with me. So is Kamala Harris going to bring her white husband down to her house and make sure that she gets to have kids and has a good family? I said, because you're a good man. You've been a great husband, a great father to this lady, and you liked her, but she's throwing all that in the garbage because of politicians who don't even know who she is. I think that's a mental illness. I really do. I think it's a mental illness. So don't let these people pimp you. Don't whatever choice you make sure it's your choice. That's it. Take the time and make sure this is what you want, and don't get caught up in letting other people in Capitol Hill who care nothing about you shape your life. That's the point I want to make on that. And I know I started talking about the Jasmine Crockett Stephen A thing, and that was part of it, but it's really deeper than that. It's a broader conversation about what are we really doing? What conversations are we really having? And I would ask you to ask this question. Anytime you get into a back and forth or any sort of political dialogue, ask yourself, what's the benefit? Where is this going to benefit my life, my children, my family, or my community? If you can't find an area where your children are going to benefit from this, don't do it. If you can't find an area where your family can't benefit from this, don't do it. If you can't find an area where your community can benefit from this, don't do it. Focus your energy on the things that matter because You only have a limited supply of energy, and you only have a limited supply of money. You only have a limited supply of attention. And the Black community has become the fuel for other people's greatness. Others rise, you sink to the bottom because we want to have these bottom dweller conversations. And I don't think that's going to help anybody. All right. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I hope that this was helpful to you. I hope you were able to hear what I had to say. Tomorrow morning, I'll be back to talk about the economic stuff. I promise you. I know, well, this is economics actually, but I know it's very political, and I know that whenever I do that, I lose a lot of I've lost a lot of fans because I won't sign up for somebody's political party. I refuse to be a Democrat or Republican because I think that they're all destroying America. I really do, and I just won't participate. I want to vote for good people, and that's it. And that's where I stand, and nobody's gonna talk me off of that. All right. So anyway, have a good night, everybody. One more thing, if you want to get on the text list to be invited to our financial class, I teach finances. If somebody wants to know what are you doing for the Black community, well, I have a PhD in finance. I taught at Syracuse University for 12 years, and I teach money every single morning. It's called Money in the Morning, financial consciousness training. If you want to join us, text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. I also wrote a book called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, a simple set of guidelines that any family can follow that will that will really give you financial security in the next generation. Not hard to do, just basic steps. So feel free to go to drboycebooks.com. That's drboycebooks.com. All right, everybody, have a good night. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. And also, this podcast is on Spotify. So if you happen to have Spotify, you can look up my name on Spotify and find me there. All right, so take care.